First, before I start, I would like to thank the Hyderabad team, Parul, Swamya, and Rajari, for having me today. We tried to organize something when I was in India, but I'm super happy it's happening today. So, without further ado, I'm going to talk about the agenda for today. I'm going to introduce myself, then we are going to jump into the topic of the presentation, which is how to prepare to interview. I will also try to make a little stop about academia versus the industry for people being researchers, data scientists, and hesitating between the two. I will make another focus on the COVID-19 situation because it's having an impact everywhere in the world, and I would like to reassure you and to give good ideas to you. Then I will talk about diversity, and we will conclude before the Q&A. So as Parul said, please keep your questions, write them down, and I will take as much time as needed to answer to them at the end. So, before I introduce myself, I want to do one quote. I am working on diversity issues because it's critical. There is an intellectual need for mixing all kinds of minds together to create a more representative workforce. So, this is really my motto. No matter what I do, this is what I think about every day. My name is Caroline Chavier. I have been a tech recruiter for the last 7 years. So basically, I hired software engineers on different programming languages. I hired machine learning engineers, researchers, and data scientists. Also product managers, people doing support, so different kind of positions. As Parul mentioned it, in 2017, I co-founded with 3 other ladies the Paris WiMLDS chapter. I think you all know what WiMLDS is, but just in case, it's a global organization that is promoting and supporting women and gender minorities in the field of machine learning and data science. So, even if I am just a recruiter, I am passionate about all the ethical questions raised by the use and the development of machine learning techniques. So you don't see it, but by my side I have a bookshelf, and it's quite, there's a lot of books about AI. Recently I made my first TEDx talk about diversity and the place of women in AI, which I think is critical and that we need to increase. So you can have a look at it if you want. And today, if you hear like good pieces of advice and want to share it, you can tag me on Twitter at MissCaroline_C. So for those of you, okay, someone is not muted. It's okay. For those of you who are working in the academic world, I just wanted to tell you that I will be able to help you because in 2017, at Criteo, the company I was working at, I was only recruiting for the research lab. So when I started doing that, I asked a lot of questions to my fellow researchers, and this is how I discovered archive.org. This is how I started to follow all the machine learning conferences in order to spot the talent, in order to tweet content about it. And I want to raise this topic because I think this is also a healthy thing to do when you're in the field, to check archive the hashtags of the conferences online. Recently, for instance, ICLR was happening, and you can get a lot of papers, notions in your mind without a lot of effort. And I really liked discovering the research world, the academic world, because I thought it was a different way to tackle the issues of machine learning. The people were also different in terms of salary expectations, intellectual expectations. So what I liked from them is the strong commitment they have towards research. I would like also to focus on the Paris machine learning meetup we founded with the team, because we do something that is quite unique. Every Friday on Twitter, we share a paper written or co-written by a woman. So it's in order to enable our community to have the habit to read scientific papers in order to implement them, and also to highlight the women. And so every month we also organize the BBL WiMLDS Paris meetups. It means that we have lunch together, we read papers together, we analyze them, and we empower everybody. So here are the faces of the four current organizers: Chloe, Marie, myself, Natalie, and you don't see on the picture Betty, who is in charge of the BBL, WiMLDS Paris. Then, why am I legitimate to talk to you today? I know well the tech industry, the machine learning world, and recently I launched with the CTO of my company free coaching sessions. So during these, I helped candidates to get ready for phone interviews, salary negotiation. I reviewed their resumes, and my CTO helped them on the technical part. He also helped them on the management side. So if you want to know more about it, you can read the full article. I will send the link later to the Hyderabad team. And if you want, just for you to know, I just created my company, which was quite stressful, but I'm excited about. Parallel stressed it. My goal with the Alliance is to help both companies and candidates. Companies to be like excellent at hiring in terms of diversity, recruitment processes, and everything. And I want to empower candidates to find the perfect job. So I know it's a tough challenge, but I'm eager to pursue it. And if I had to say one sentence, I want to work with people that are not diversity washing, but that believe in the strength of diversity and embracing differences. So that being said, let's deep dive on today's goal. I want to empower you. I want to help you to manage your stress, because I know that as a candidate is very stressful to interview. I want you to get ready in the best way, and I want you to succeed at every interview in order for you to have the choice at the end. So now, the beginning. I think it's important to talk about what an interview is. Most of the time, I see candidates being very stressed because they imagine that an interview is going to be an evaluation, and they position themselves into like a student-professor relationship, meaning you're going to only answer to the questions that you are asked. And I disagree with that. An interview is a conversation. An interview, when you are a candidate, is also an ability for you to extend your knowledge. Let me pause here. Let's say you are being asked a question that you don't know about. It's good because it means that when the interview is going to be over, you're going to get the ability to read about a topic you knew nothing about. But during the interview, you can answer, I don't know about this, but recently I read about that. Recently I implemented this. And you counterbalance a weakness into showing that you actually can connect topics together. So I want you to keep in mind that an interview is always a conversation with an interviewer, and that interviewers are here because they want to know more about your background. They want to make sure that the skills that you highlighted in your resume are notions that you know about, and they want to understand your expectations in order to make sure it's corresponding to what they are looking for. So usually the first step before interviewing is to write a resume. Here I know that it's something that people are always scared to do. I don't understand why, because it's just the description of your background, what you read, and what you know about. So even if there are cultural differences all around the world about what we expect from a resume, I want to reassure you, there is no universal and perfect resume. I want you to know that a recruiter, in average, is going to take 6 seconds in order to have a look at your resume, so it's important to write it in the best way, to write a readable resume. And my answer to what is the perfect resume is quite simple. The length of the resume does not matter as long as relevant information about your skills are featured. Let's take the example of someone from academia. You might have a lot of papers to share. Please put all your papers there. If you are super experienced, maybe only display the papers from the most known and selective conferences. If you are a very experienced software engineer, make sure to highlight the technical side of your project, possibly the management of the people you had to go through and that you enjoyed. Please try to write a resume that is going to be descriptive, informative, and here I'm going to give you one piece of advice that I apply to myself. I have a resume with all my experiences, and depending on the positions I'm going to apply to, I'm going to personalize this full-on resume. Meaning, if I am applying for a position that is an individual contributor position, I'm going to take off all the things that are related to project management or people management. I'm going to only focus on result and operational sides. In the contrary, if I'm going to aim at a management position, I'm going to highlight what I was hitting for the other position. And I think it's a very, very healthy thing to do because, for instance, data scientists, it doesn't mean the same thing in all the companies. So if you spot in the job description that it's heavily technical, please highlight the technical side. So I hope I was clear on this, but relax about the resume and make sure to be descriptive, to be tech savvy in order to help the recruiters. And yes, don't ask the opinions of your friends, teachers, moms and dads, because everybody has a different opinion about what a good resume looks like. Then, this is a question that I answer very often. Do I need to display my personal projects or my academic papers? Yes, if you're part of an NGO, if your last paper got accepted, if you wrote a technical blog post, if you teach people how to code, if you developed an app on your personal time, yes, it needs to be featured in your resume because it says something about your commitment, about your passion, about your interest, and so it is very important, and it can make the difference among candidates. It's not mandatory, but you have to understand that when we are interviewing a candidate, we want to understand him, her, so please give us information about who you are. And here I want to make a wink to the introvert people, because if you are doing projects on your side at home or connecting via Stack Overflow, Kaggle to other people, thanks to the projects you work on, please highlight it in your resume because it shows that you are interacting with people, and it's super good. We need diversity, and so we need introvert and extrovert people. Then, if you want to be good at interviewing, you need to build an application strategy. You know, it's very simple, but once you know what you want, once you know your value, You define a strategy and you will succeed. What do I mean by that? I would be you. I would be updating my GitHub, my LinkedIn, my personal website, my Twitter account, my Kaggle, so on and so on, in order to have consistency, to have harmony in everything you introduce about your skills and background. For instance, yesterday I talked with a candidate. His resume was displaying information that I was missing on his LinkedIn profile. As a recruiter, this is not a good data point. So on this, I want you to have a critical look at all the platforms that you use to market yourself and to make sure it's consistent. Then, while building your application strategy, you need to make sure you feature the right keywords. Machine learning, neural network, XGBoost, C#, Java, Python, whatever, but do not forget to display these words, because you will help the recruiters that are not always knowledgeable in machine learning and coding to, contact you, because they will have seen the keywords that the hiring managers will ask them to look for. So again, let me give you an example. Yesterday I talked with a candidate. He was working in finance, so he was using the FIX protocol, and I knew what it was, but he was not featuring any coding language. And I said, a junior recruiter might not contact you because the person does not know in what language you developed your product, and a recruiter doesn't have time. So please help them and market yourself in the best way to be contacted. That's your goal. You want to be reached out. Again, I thought about people that are sometimes not knowing how to start. If you don't know how to introduce yourself, for instance, over the phone, ask a friend, ask a colleague, what would you say if you were to introduce me? And then you can start like that. Another idea, please have a look at the profile on LinkedIn of the people you dream to work with and see how they present their skills. So here I might do a little stop, because very experienced people are not super talkative in general on LinkedIn. So have a look at different LinkedIn profiles, and then it will give you inspiration to write your own LinkedIn profile. Again, to build your application strategy and your interview strategy, you need to question yourself before you start. What are your goals? What is the job you want to target? Where are the experts in the field? Like, where are they working? And it can give you an idea of places you can apply to. Do you want to work in a company? Or do you want to work in an academic lab or an NGO? Do you want to pursue a PhD, a postdoc? Do you want to join the industry? You need to list different questions that are usually asked about your motivation. And again, a good exercise that you can do, write all the questions to your partner, to your family members, and ask them to ask the questions to you and try to answer to it. So the people you're going to have this conversation with might not know your job, but it's okay, because what is important is to hear you introduce your expectations, the way you describe your professional experience, and see what's good, what's needed to be improved. And so that's my piece of advice. Then, this is super important when you want to start interviewing, is to analyze the vocabulary. Before you apply to job offers, you need to understand the different characteristics of the job. Do I need to code? Do I need to read scientific papers? Do I need to work with clients? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. Someone is not muted, so the person who's not muted, if you can do it, please, that would be nice. Then try to understand what are the differences between the same position in different companies. Let's take the example of the job data scientist. In many companies, it doesn't mean the same thing. I know data scientists who code, and I know data scientists who don't. So it's important for you to understand it, because if you love coding every day, if you interview for a position that doesn't imply coding, you might be frustrated. Again, analyzing the vocabulary will enable you to feature the right words in your resume and to speak the same language as the recruiters and the hiring managers you're going to talk with. And I want to share good news, but interviews are fun. So I will share the presentation with you, but here is a presentation that has been made by Elena Smirnova. She was a machine learning researcher at Criteo, and she made a presentation about how to prepare a machine learning interview, and it's full of references. I like it because in machine learning, you know, the techniques are changing a lot, and so you have to be updated with what's new when you want to succeed. For the people that are not into the machine learning world, but what I like about this presentation is that it can be useful to everybody. It's a presentation from Adriana Valdivi about how to prepare technical interviews. This talk is brand new. It's coming from the Women of React conference. So not everything will be useful, but the very beginning and the very end can be applied to any tech position. And if Paola Ducolin is watching the presentation, I want to thank you, because this is you who pointed out this reference to me. And to everybody listening to the presentation, there is a lot of tutorial on YouTube. There is a lot of books existing to understand how to crack technical interviews. I know Google and all the big companies are sharing a lot of content, so please have a look at it, because succeeding technical interviews implies having gotten ready. Then, here it's my favorite slide maybe, because to prepare your interviews, I want you to have a few things in mind. Recruiters are not dumb. Yes, breaking news. Recruiters are not dumb, but imagine them as the translators of the needs of hiring managers. Often, recruiters are going to look for the right keywords and look for what the hiring managers want. And you, as a candidate, you need to help them. Because, you know, when I started my job, I didn't know what coding means. I didn't know the different coding languages. And it's thanks to the people I was working with, thanks to my candidates and my curiosity, that I grew my skills on it. So if you speak with a junior recruiter, be able to vulgarize your knowledge, and especially your technical knowledge. If you do that, you can convince everyone. Then, before interviewing or meeting with a team, have a look at their publications. Have a look at their blog posts. And you are going to understand the challenges they are tackling. And then you can try to identify the parallels you can make between your background and what they are working on. And so here I want to relax everybody. I don't think everybody has gone through a PhD, but because I think a lot of machine learning people will listen to this talk, I wanted them to be cool, because I know that a lot of PhD people don't feel legitimate in the industry, and that's false, okay? Then everybody, you need to be ready to talk about your work. And please don't apologize, just be descriptive. I worked on this. We pushed to production that. we did something state of the art. We had to denoise this data. Please explain your thinking process and then your results. Also, something super important, in order to succeed at interviewing, it's important to ask questions. Because no matter if you're a junior person, an experienced person, you will be the one selecting the company or the team you're going to join. So list questions beforehand and take advantage of your interview to ask them to the people you might be working with later. If you want example is, last year, what are the conferences you attended? How do you grow the skills of your development team? And so on. Then I want to give you, I think, 2 pieces of advice that are general. It's very healthy to interview on a regular basis. Believe me or not, but interviewing is a job. It takes a lot of time because you're going to speak with a recruiter, you're going to have an old assignment, or you're going to be asked to analyze an academic paper to then sum it up to research team. Then you're going to go physically to interview or to do it online because you have a worldwide pandemic. No matter what, you need to be trained. And so I would like you to remember this advice, but even if you don't intend to leave your company or your team, I would invite you to have at least a few interview process every year. Why? Because you keep a foot in the job interview world, so you reduce your stress. Because, you know, if you interview without the need to find something to get money, it's less stressful. Then you decrease your stress. It's also a good habit to take you out of your comfort zone and to spot what you can improve and train without any pressure. And then you will be ready when the next perfect position is going to show up. You will be ready, and interviewing will not be something scary to you. And again, I know that someone is listening to this talk and that this person applied this technique and she's in full control of the interviews she's going through, and she is going to have several job offers and she's going to select the perfect team at the end. So practice for interviews on a regular basis. For me, it's a self-discipline that will get you anywhere. Again, it takes time, but it's like optimizing your future. And here, I didn't write it down, but I know that some of us suffer from the imposter syndrome. And even if it can be turned into a strength, I want you to remember that if you are a software engineer, a data scientist, a student in machine learning, data scientist, computer science, you are valuable. The market is looking for your skills. Your skills are scarce. So you will be the one choosing the companies and the company you will join, not the reverse. This is something super important because it's going to counterbalance the power relationship between companies, interviewers, and you as a candidate. Now, I mentioned academia versus the industry. When I started to hire for academic researchers, this is how I saw academia and the industry behaving, opposing each other. But I do believe that it's interesting to do, there is synergies between academia and the industry. So here I wanted to share the point of view of Yann Lequin, who's the AI director at Facebook. He was saying that it was a strength to split your time between academia and the industry And I think the same, because the computing power is not going to be the same, the networks of people are not going to be the same, and to make both worlds echoing each other, it's interesting. Another thing is that I love theoretical I loved the theoretical research, but I think also tackling real-world applications, it's instrumental. So having both brains is going to make you, I think, a complete researcher. So collaborative research groups are great, but when saying that, I don't want you to think that I have a bias. I think we need academic research teams to exist, because we need to have people teaching machine learning techniques in the best way, and not only to pursue a financial growth. So hear me say that. And so tackling in different way research topics, this is what I think is instrumental. And on this, I like the fact that today the academic world is very collaborative. You can have groups in Paris working with people in the UK, in the US. When you see that, it's awesome. And it's not something that you always see among companies. So collaboration is something I think very attractive when you work in the academic world. That being said, I wanted also to adapt. I know in the Paris WiMLDS meetup, we have a lot of PhD students. And I know that going through a PhD is sometimes emotionally draining, intellectually complex. So you see, here are a Nature survey that was released last year, expressing what kind of issues PhD students were tackling. And as a consequence, you know, like, let's focus, 36% of respondents have sought help for anxiety or depression caused by PhD studies. It does not mean that PhD students are all depressed, no, but it means that it's a long-run project, you have issues that are specific, and it's draining. And so what I thought was interesting is these numbers. PhD students, what did they want to do afterwards? They might want to keep being in academia still. They might want to work the industry and then join other groups like medical groups, governments, or nonprofits. So I want you to relax about your future ambitions. Make sure that when you're going to look for a PhD, an industry position, a postdoc, it's really answering your inner ambitions. That's it. There is no perfect path. Now, let's talk a little bit about COVID-19. You should know that right now, not everybody is dealing with the same situation, and it's okay. I mean, a lot of people are productive. A lot of people are procrastinating. It's also something I like doing. It's okay. And the current situation is an opportunity, possibly, to plan, to be creative, and to optimize future opportunities. Why am I saying that? I know a lot of people that didn't start an internship while it was planned, that saw a company saying that they were not going to hire them anymore, or that got fired. So it's a tough situation that we're all going through, but there are things you can do. For instance, you can put yourself in a recruiter's shoes and you can source for opportunities and network online, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Discord, on Facebook. I'm going to give you two examples. I have a friend, she's a student, and she's going to look for an apprenticeship. Right now, there is no job offers for that. And so I invited her to connect on LinkedIn to the big companies that would be willing to hire her, and to contact the managers like, hey, I might be interested in pursuing a career in that. Would you be keen to talk to me about your work? Because right now, people have the time and they are willing to share information and to share knowledge. So please source for network opportunities and job opportunities in the meantime. You can book discussion with peers, professors, professionals. You can directly reach out to recruiters. It's interesting because for once, you are not going to be harassed by recruiters, but you can harass them. Please do so. I'm sure they will be happy. You can also have fun. You can take part to Kaggle competitions. You can do some coding competitions. You can watch documentaries about topics you're passionate about. You can read books. So just relax and do something that will help you looking for your future opportunity. But the market is slowing down. For instance, in France, we saw a decrease of job offer publication of 60%. So it's not 100%. It means that there are still 40% of the job offers being posted, but it gives you an information. Then you can also look for support. You can connect with a support group such as WiMLDS, Women Who Code, Our Ladies, Ladies of Code. There's lots of opportunities. And for the men listening to this presentation, you can also join these groups sometimes. And there are lots of groups online for different communities. So it's not just for ladies that I said that. You can also read the news, updates from your company, from your school, from your lab, and be proactive in the communication. And if you don't have enough information, reach out to your boss, reach out to your professor to know if you still have to complete an internship to validate your diploma. Don't keep the stress for yourself. Go and look for the information. And here I want to give you two advice. No matter what you do in life, do not assume, always probe. And knowledge is power. So in this kind of situation like the COVID, we need to go and look for information. And there is always a solution, always someone willing to help. And I do believe that tomorrow is a brighter day because we learn and we grow confidence, we grow our knowledge. Now, I want to take this opportunity to talk about diversity because WiMLDS is all about it. I am all about it. And then I will end this presentation and try to answer your question. So about diversity, I got interested in it precisely in 2017 when a Google engineer named James Dahmer really smashed the diversity policy and strategy from Google. So this person wrote a 10-page document that is scientifically weak, that is intellectually dishonest. And why did I like it? Because if you want to work on diversity, you need to understand your opponent's way of thinking. And this document for me is something I never forget. It's something I always have in my mind. There will always be people thinking that women are weaker coder or weaker mathematicians. Yes, that's what the guy is stressing, that people are going to link your sociological, your social background to how performant you're going to be at work. And I think this is dangerous. But if you want to work on diversity, please have a look at it. It's going to show how people are going to be sometimes attacking what you do. And what this document enabled me to do was to discuss with inspiring women and men. I talked with a lot of allies that were like, I don't rely to this point of view. And I do believe that when you work on diversity, you're not improving one minority situation. You are improving the overall situation for everyone. And that's why I love working on diversity. And here, allow me to quote an Italian politician woman that is working at the European level, Federica Mogherini. Sorry, my Italian is not good. It's not diversity that is going to destroy us, but fear of diversity. And in AI, we still have a lot of work to do to improve the representation of women. This is data from Element AI from 2017. They compiled data from NeurIPS, ICML, ICLR. So yes, you see the old NeurIPS name on the document. They compiled all the authors from the papers, and you can see that women in purple are not super numerous. In average, on a global scale, we have 12% of AI researchers that are women. So today, no matter what you do in your life, you can be a diversity advocate. First, if you hire in data science and machine learning, WiMLDS has a free job board that you can use. You can post your job offers in your country. And I do invite people to just post their job offers there. But please do it when your company is really welcoming to underrepresented groups and women especially. What can you do? If you are interviewing or hiring people, you can get into your mind that less women are going to apply for positions. So I invite you to rewrite your job description in a gender-neutral way. So watch out for pronouns, watch out for the little jokes that are often coming from the bro culture, and make it inclusive to as much people as possible. If you manage people, I want you to know that studies showed that women were less asking, and that has been counterbalanced. I will make a focus. Women are less asking for raises and promotions, so you can counterbalance that by advocating their work and by pushing a raise for them or a promotion for them. Of course, when it's deserved, but most of the time it is the case. And why did I stop myself when talking? A lot of women are actually asking for a raise, but they don't get it. So that's why being an advocate is instrumental. Then, in meetings, please let women speak. Amplify their voices. We have all been in a meeting during which a woman shared a good idea and no one heard it. Then this very specific same idea was expressed in a different way by a man and suddenly became a genius idea. If you witness something like this, please voice something and join the conversation by saying, yes, this person already expressed the idea, I think we need to go into that direction. Then, this is something super important for me. This is actually, I think, when I started to fangirl WiMLDS. You see the tweet on the right, it's a real screen cap from a real conference in finance. So it's like 7 per 7. Do not look for the women. There are no women on this conference poster. I think it's a shame. And we need to stop having manels. So what is a manel? A manel is the contraction of man with the word panel. And it keeps happening. So if you are a man, for instance, there is a few solutions for you. Either you refuse to speak at this panel. Either you suggest the name of a woman to go instead of you. Or, which I think is quite smart, accept to go to this panel, but with a female co-worker expert you know. So that being said, please, let's stop having manels. Again, there is a bro culture thing. Please try to avoid any social interaction that involves like drinking outside. Like it's often just men going, and it's creating a true disadvantage for women. I think it's important to use as much as possible social networking possibilities that are inclusive. Then you can also mentor, sponsor underrepresented groups. You can support WiMLDS, you can support queer GS, you can support Black in AI. There is lots of possibilities. You just need to think about it. And then when you're going to organize social gathering, please set up a code of conduct just in order to make sure that everybody is sharing the same mood and interacting in the best way and being welcoming. So now I am done with my presentation. Feel free to connect with WiMLDS on all the social networks that we are present on. And I would like to thank you again for being here on a Saturday. And if you have any question now, I will be very, very happy to answer to it.